This is a Mustang that I picked up who had been through some training that wasn't ideal for her, and she became quite afraid and uncatchable. So this is my first session in working with her, and I have her in the round pen so that I can get my hands on her and catch her, because in a larger pasture she's not motivated to be caught. So until she's catchable, she's staying here. So I know that when I come toward her, she gets quite upset. And what I'm doing here is just seeing where that point is when I walk toward her, of drawing her interest without going far enough to push her away. So there I have a little bit of interest, but her stance sort of says, if you come too close, I'm going to run off. What I don't want her to do is to get running around, if I can help it, because she's already quite practiced at that. So there I drew her interest, and when I got it, I backed up. This is just the preliminary stages of telling her that I'm not going to pursue her, I'm not here to trap her, and if she can get a little curious about me, that would be great. Horses get the way that she is through being put through excess pressure, run around to get caught or trapped, and I don't want her to feel that way at all. So there she was a little curious about me, and I back up. And there I drew her again. As many times as I can draw her, the better, because I'm not looking to actually catch her today or really anytime soon. What I'm looking at doing is getting her to feel comfortable with the idea of being caught. Once I have her comfortable with the idea of being caught, catching her will be no big deal. She's been caught before, and she's been worked plenty, but her mind has become very tight around the idea of all of it. So when she sees somebody come with a halter, she becomes virtually uncatchable. And I apologize, I had my camera up on a stand here and she got out of the frame, so she'll be back in it soon. When I went to touch her, she got a little tight, so I just backed up before she got too tight. Her habit is to get rigid and lock up and just tolerate things when she knows she has to. And what I want her to know is that she can be involved in things, she can participate, she can get curious, and I'm going to stay under her threshold as much as I can so I don't push through those points of excess tension. So really the opposite of what she's used to. Here I'm seeing if I can draw her attention. When she started to look away, I moved. There I drew her attention. See if she can reach out to me. There her expression softened a little. There's a fine line between giving the horse an out. So she always has an out while sort of toggling with her curiosity a little. I want her to feel comfortable enough to stay. I don't want to push her enough so that she has to leave. I do want to give her the option to leave, but I don't want her to get practiced at taking it. So I have to stay under threshold in order for her to feel like she doesn't have to take that option. See if she can get a little curious about me here. Petting makes her pretty rigid, and she stops breathing, she elevates her head, just kind of waiting for the yuck to happen. I have to experiment with the way that I touch her here, because petting doesn't make her feel good, and it's not really an intuitive reward to a horse. So her posture is a little more relaxed. She's looking and chewing. Her jaw is rewarding to her, what makes her feel good. There's kind of a little dance here where I reach out to her, see if she can reach toward me without making her feel pursued or trapped. And this mare is pretty touchy, and pretty athletic. It doesn't take a whole lot to get her feeling like she has to defend herself, so I have to be careful in the way that I reach out to her and the way that I present myself, that she doesn't perceive me as a threat and think she might have to defend herself, because it certainly wouldn't feel too good to me or to her. And I got my first step of her walking toward me, which I'm thrilled with. See if I can draw her attention. That wasn't too bad. She wasn't too worried. And she's been fairly guarded of her left side, and she's starting to let me on her left side, which is pretty exciting. The left side is typically where people halter from, so it makes sense that she would want to protect herself. You can see when I approach her, she'll tip her nose to prevent me from getting to her left side. So the way that I approach that is important. I try not to force my way over there, because that will cause her to leave or feel like she has to spin around and protect herself. So I reach toward the center where she'll let me, and if she walks off, I just redraw her. There, I drew her in. She's starting to take little steps toward me and feel a little more relaxed, which I'm thrilled with. So I reach toward the center. She says, "Don't come to my left side." Every time she leaves, I just use it as an opportunity to draw her back to me. It's really important for work like this that I have no interest in how long it takes, because the moment a horse like this feels pressured or feels an agenda, then things go downhill fast. So every time I come into the round pen, I have to think, I don't care how long this takes, and I don't care what happens. And then I'm usually surprised by what can happen when I take that attitude. There was one step toward me. I reach for the center, right in between her eyes, and just work my hand over to the left. She still has her nose sort of in a rigid defensive posture, so she's not really willing to let me over to her left side. And that's okay, I don't want to force my way over there, but I just want to help her feel safe to sort of let my hand go over there. There, she let me over there for a second, so I left. She's starting to definitely loosen up here. It's really important to me that when a horse says something scares them, that I don't push through that, because the more that you try to get to that spot that they're saying no to, the more they feel threatened by your movements and by your posture. So by letting her know that I realize she's afraid, I realize she's bothered, and I'm not going to go past where she says her threshold is, that actually allows you into that horse's no spots a lot quicker. Because when they don't feel so threatened by you, then naturally they can trust you a little more. So my approach to this type of work isn't let me do this to you, X, Y, and Z thing to you. It's how can I get you to trust my movement, to not feel threatened by my approach? How can I adjust to fit your needs? And she said, no, I can't handle you on my left side, but instead of leaving, she thought of staying, which is pretty cool. So I reach for the center. She let me on her right side. And for a second I was on her left side. And that's a pretty nice change. There I was on her left side without her flying off. So here she's a lot more relaxed. I'm loving the little changes this little mare is making. She let me right into her left side. And at any time that a horse allows you somewhere, I like to think that they can say no in the middle of it. So if I get to her left side and I'm touching her there and she suddenly says, I need you to leave, then I need to honor that. So by working under her threshold like this, when she says, I'm scared of you being somewhere, I'm actually helping to build her trust. And by building her trust, I can get so much more done than thinking of all of these things as a series of stuff I would like to do to her and get her to accept. And everything that I do is sort of predatory and scary until proven otherwise. So it's really not about me and what I want. It's just about building something here that we can work with. So I'm rubbing pretty firmly in a way that feels more like a massage than petting, and she seems to enjoy that much more. And here I'm just pressing my palm into her neck and kind of letting that sink into her muscles and her neck. It's very, very rigid, very tight mare. And I'm looking for some sign that that feels good to her. So her breathing is starting to change. She's going back and forth between trying to decide if this is something she wants or not. And when there's a little change, that's when I leave. A little change of breathing, a little more relaxation. And there's some nice jaw looseness. So now I'm able to approach her straight from the left side, which is a neat development. She's getting a little curious about me. And I'm looking for some sign that she's relaxing a little bit. I don't want to just put my hand on her. I want her to know that my hand can cause her to feel safe, to feel better, to feel more relaxed. So let's kind of laying the foundation of that here, that when my hand is on her, it's not just accept, it's here's a good feeling for you right here with me. And here's Orange Joe, the barn kitty, in the corner. Caught her attention. Now she's torn between checking out Orange Joe and coming back to me. I love how curious horses can be when they don't feel threatened. So I'm just changing my position here, and she draws right back. And she's starting to feel better and better. So I'm starting with where she says it's okay for me to approach. What touches are okay, what way to approach me is okay, what movements are okay, and we build from there. But we have to lay a foundation of her not feeling suspicious of my movements. So there she said, don't go to my left side yet. Then her head just sort of melted a little. My hand is on her left side, and she says it's okay to come in. So I listen for all those little signs. If I just barge right in there, then she would really feel threatened. This kind of work can be like watching paint dry, but to me it's extremely important. Because if you don't have this foundation of her feeling like she can reach to you and she can feel safe in your touch, then everything in the future really is just kind of a house of cards and can stumble right down with one little blip. She's a little curious about me and checking me out a little, which I'm thrilled with. And it's important for me to not get too excited in these little moments where she's reaching out for me to do too much and want to pet her more, or move in a way that might make her suspicious all over again. So I have to just take these little gifts she gives and respect them and not try to get more out of her. To be totally satisfied with what she has to offer and not get excited and want more. There, her neck is starting to relax. She's starting to get curious about me again. Her breathing is changing. You can't really see her that well in this video, but her nostrils are starting to change because she's taking fuller, deeper breaths instead of those short, quick ones that she took in the beginning when she was nervous. Some big changes in her breathing. Big, deep breaths. It's important to me to be fully present in the moment, or otherwise you miss these little things. Because if my mind were somewhere else, I would miss all these little details. So that's a really nice walk. Really nice, relaxed walk she left with. And she's starting to say that she might like to come back. There's some steps toward me, which I'm thrilled with. She's starting to feel more and more comfortable with me being not just in the center, but off to one side or another. Particularly her right eye, she's more comfortable with me being in. And certainly I'm sure that things have not gone well for her having people on her left eye, so it stands to reason that she would want to be protective of it. And I'm thrilled with the way she's moving, the way she's breathing. She's getting much more calm. There was a little uncertainty, a little curiosity.
So initially she sort of says,
normal for them to flicker back and forth between them.
Approach her,
so I have to walk that
straight
line between
her eyes.
pushing the
That's where she's
bubble a
most
little bit
comfortable.
without
She
making
wants
her
to kinda
so
keep me there.
insecure and
And as
unsure
I
of
work
me
with
that
her,
she feels she needs to
I'm
leave.
sort of checking to see
And if she
where
does
are some
leave,
spots I can get to.
then I need to understand that I need to back
She's
off a little bit
uncomfortable with
and
me
try
being on
again.
her left eye, but as I step out toward her right
There's a little
eye,
curiosity,
she's getting a little more comfortable with
a
that.
little uncertainty.
And certainly if I were to approach her from the shoulder or from the side, that would be too much.
And she's letting me in, and
that was
then
a little
she
too much for
can't,
her and she left.
so she leaves.
But
she's not going too far, so
upset.
we just start
So
over.
That's good. Even when she says no, she's not completely leaving.
And there I am coming in from the center, stepping back to draw her away again. Some nice jaw loosening. And my goal for today isn't to get any particular thing done, but just to get her to see if she can feel a little bit more confident about drawing toward me, and just, I guess, me in general. If you have an agenda with a horse like this, it can quickly create quite a bit more tension. She's getting pretty relaxed. Her eyes are getting really soft. She's still pretty uncertain about me going into that left side and blocking me there, so I go over to the right side. And there she's letting me over. And then she says no. So we have this little dance back and forth. There's kind of a bubble around a horse that you want to realize that before you ever touch the horse, you're pushing on that bubble. And each horse's bubble is a little bit different, so my physical touch isn't just pressure, my existence near her is pressure. So there she let me in on her left side very nicely. And I have to understand that just petting her doesn't feel that good to her, so I want to touch her in a way that does feel good. Me rubbing her in deeper, firmer strokes feels a little bit more reassuring to her. Petting is fun for us people, but for a horse like this, it's not intuitive that that is supposed to be a reward or a good feeling. When all of your movements are suspicious, so if your hand is moving too quickly or brushing their fur back and forth in a way that makes them a little worried, petting can actually be much scarier and much more discouraging than we realize. So here my hand is just still. And her neck muscles are starting to kind of melt around my hand. And she's starting to enjoy it a little. And that's all my goal is for the day, is just to see if she can feel comfortable with me standing near her and touching her. And her head's coming down a little bit. And a little bit more. So this is the spot that I would begin to halter, and I want to really make sure that that feels good and comfortable and safe to her. And her head comes back down again. She's getting a little curious of me. So that's where I'm going to leave her for that moment. What I'd really like is if I walk away and she would want to follow after me, but baby steps. That's pretty nice. It's important to be really excited about any progress, any change you get, not get too greedy or wanting more too fast. Because you might get one step forward and then think, okay, now you need to have 2 steps, and then the horse suddenly loses a lot of confidence and feels unconfident again because we put too much pressure on them. So we have to be happy with what they offer us. She's starting to get more comfortable with me being on her left side again. And again, that's my only goal for today, is just to see if she can feel like maybe she can be comfortable around me. But if I take the approach like, you have to let me touch you, you have to let me halter you, you have to let me catch you, you have to let me this and that, I might be able to get her to do those things, but she'd be pretty tense. And then if she got pretty troubled later on, then I would lose the whole horse. She'd feel like she had to defend herself against me instead of being able to look to me for some support. And that's really all I'm after, is just getting her to look to me for some support. And her expression's really nice. She's pretty calm. She looks pretty soft. She's kind of curious. Oh, I love that. That's just, can't get better than that. And she's yawning and relaxed, and that's just better than a paycheck. So that's where I'm going to leave this session today.